Top Taiwan. I'm Ethan Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Japan's Coast Guard has fined a Taiwanese fishing boat over $37,000 after catching it operating in Japan's territorial waters. Japan's Coast Guard intercepted the vessel near Amami Island on Friday morning and detained 2 Taiwanese and 6 Indonesian crew. The vessel and its crew will be released after paying the fine. They're expected to continue fishing before returning to their home port of Keelung later this month. The Defense Ministry says 62 Chinese military aircraft were spotted around Taiwan since Thursday morning. The ministry also reported 6 Chinese naval vessels operating around the country. 55 of the aircraft crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait and entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This zone is not Taiwan's sovereign airspace, but is used by the military for defensive purposes. Taiwan's Defense Ministry says the Chinese aircraft were conducting joint patrols with the naval vessels. Taiwan mobilized its own forces in response. The incursions come as China holds military exercises in waters north of Taiwan. Defense analysts from the U.S. are in Taipei for a forum with Taiwan's sole national security think tank. They discuss Beijing's growing coercion of Taiwan and what the U.S. and Taiwan can do about it. Joyce Zhen was there.
We're here at the Taipei headquarters of top security think tank INDSR, and they're hosting defense scholars from DC-based think tank, the Hudson Institute, for a day of panel discussions. And China, of course, is a central focus. In particular, security analysts here are talking about Beijing's new guidelines to their anti-secession laws, which now threaten the death penalty for those who support Taiwan independence. The U.S. government has already condemned this. Now, joining the discussion here via video message, the president and CEO of the Hudson Institute, John Walters, said that Beijing's use of judicial guidelines in this way sets a false legal precedent for unification by non-peaceful means. The dangers of this were echoed by INDSR's CEO, Chen Mingqi, who said Beijing's intimidation tactics are a global concern.
这些都是利用法律的手段来不断地对我们进行压迫。那么一个很重要的一个回击的方式是透过提高这个大家共同的认识，不管是在这个台湾内部或者在国际社会上面。
Now, INDSR recently reported that Taiwan-U.S. defense research exchanges have elevated to a semi-official level, meaning such academic discussions have been used to strengthen ties with partners. Taipei and Washington don't share official diplomatic relations, and because China blocks Taiwan from almost all official global forums, opportunities to share knowledge through think tanks like this is an important way for Taiwan to collaborate with other countries on security issues. As for concerns on China's legal coercion, defense scholars say that with regional peace at stake, Taiwan and the U.S. must lead like-minded countries to uphold international laws and protect the status quo. Scott Huang and Joyce Zhen in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Almost 30 countries are coming together in Hawaii for the largest international naval exercise, RIMPAC, where the focus is on the importance of U.S. allies and partners. Jaime Okan reports from Hawaii on U.S. efforts to involve allies and partners in regional security.
Australian and Peruvian sailors. An unlikely pairing, but coming together here in Hawaii. Every 2 years, navies from around the world gather at the Pearl Harbor Navy Base in Honolulu. They're here for RIMPAC. Also known as the Rim of the Pacific exercise, it's organized by the U.S., and it's the world's largest international naval drill, intended to strengthen cooperation with countries around the Pacific Ocean. The U.S. also invites allies from Europe and elsewhere. This year, more than 30 vessels, 150 aircraft, and 25,000 personnel will be taking part in the exercise. Taiwan has never participated in RIMPAC, despite recent calls from U.S. lawmakers to extend an invite. RIMPAC officials here told TaiwanPlus the decision is in line with the U.S.'s One China policy. For sailors here, RIMPAC is a rare opportunity to reconnect with old friends.
I've been meeting a lot of classmates. I didn't know they were here. There I have a classmate in the Peruvian ship, I have a classmate in the Malaysian ship, and there's a bunch of classmates that are just stationed here. So it's wonderful. It's how small the Navy world is.
For others, it's a chance to learn something new.
Because our RIMPAC has a wide variety of countries' navies to such extent. So this is a precious opportunity for us.
It's really fun, good conversation, but also at work, it's a really fun being able to do large-scale exercises with other navies and how we work together. It's really impressive.
But RIMPAC is not just about forging connections. It's also about demonstrating unity. In recent years, China has increased its military presence around Taiwan, the South China Sea, and in the wider Indo-Pacific region. While officials at RIMPAC are careful about the wording they use, analysts here in Hawaii say China is the main concern.
This is essentially the primary competitor, not the only one in the Indo-Pacific, but certainly this is what we see as what the United States calls the pacing challenge, the challenge to come. And so RIMPAC is a way to actually respond to what could happen and hopefully deter a future war.
RIMPAC is all part of a strategy to maintain regional security through cooperation between the U.S. and its allies and partners.
This is the HMAS Sydney, the only warship from Australia here. And as the country looks to be more active in the Indo-Pacific region, the crew from this ship is looking to take the lessons they learned from RIMPAC and apply them when they get back home.
A big part of these exercises is learning how each Navy operates and how they can come together to form an effective fighting force. That means relying on each Navy's capabilities, especially during a conflict.
I would say trust is a key part of it, but it's the communication that is critical. And to achieve effective communication, you need to be with each other, talk a common language, which most navies do, and to actually have time to actually engage each other so you can approach problems.
With the security environment in Asia growing more complex, RIMPAC is an attempt to show that in the face of an increasingly assertive China, for the U.S. and its allies, there's still strength in numbers. Jaime Ocon in Honolulu, Hawaii for TaiwanPlus.
Stay tuned next week for more of our reporting from RIMPAC. Hong Kong pro-democracy activist Joshua Wang has requested a lighter sentence after pleading guilty to violating the city's national security law. In 2021, Wang was one of 47 activists charged under the law for conspiracy to commit subversion. The case is seen as a major blow to Hong Kong's democracy movement. Beijing imposed the security law 4 years ago to suppress political dissent in Hong Kong. People convicted under the law could face life imprisonment, but those who plead guilty, like Wang, can receive shorter sentences. Keir Starmer will become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom after Labour won the country's general election in a landslide. It was also a historic defeat for the Conservative Party. Rosie Gweninger reports.
Welcomed by applause, Labour Party leader Keir Starmer claims victory in the United Kingdom's general election. He will become Britain's next Prime Minister after Labour won a majority and by a landslide, with more than 400 seats out of the country's 650 constituencies. Speaking in London, Starmer thanked voters and said it's time for change.
Change begins now. And it feels good, I have to be honest. 4.5 years of work changing the party. This is what it is for, a changed Labour Party, ready to serve our country, ready to restore Britain to the service of working people.
Starmer's Labour Party has promised to strengthen Britain's public health system and grow the country's stuttering economy. The historic defeat will see Rishi Sunak of the Conservative or Tory party replaced as Prime Minister. This comes after a tumultuous 14 years of the Conservatives in power. Through the COVID-19 pandemic, multiple political scandals, and the Tory-backed campaign that saw the country voting to leave the European Union. Now seen as a major factor in the UK's economic woes. It's predicted to be the Tories' worst ever election performance, expected to win well under 150 seats, a huge drop from the 345 they held going into the election. Rishi Sunak held on to his seat in Yorkshire, but has conceded defeat in the election.
The Labour Party has won this general election, and I have called Sir Keir Starmer to congratulate him on his victory. The British people have delivered a sobering verdict tonight. There is much to learn and reflect on.
As well as the switch of government, there have also been significant changes among the UK's smaller parties. The Liberal Democrats have become the country's third largest party with at least 70 seats. And the far-right Reform UK has picked up a handful of seats led by Brexit supporter Nigel Farage. The party failed to secure any in the 2019 general election. As the winds of change blow in the UK, attitudes among voters are optimistic but cautious.
I think it's time for a new future, and that's going to be good for this country.
The proof is in the pudding, right? You know, bills have got to be passed, policies have got to change. There's got to be a different sense of attitude in terms of how the government's going to approach things.
Rishi Sunak will now be visiting Buckingham Palace to formally tender his resignation, before Keir Starmer accepts the King's invitation to form a government and is officially welcomed into 10 Downing Street to begin work. And with enough seats to form a majority government, the results give the Labour Party with Starmer at the helm the power to begin to push through the changes they have pledged to the UK public. Chris Ma and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Summer is supposed to be the hot season for tourism in eastern Taiwan, but this year, even the hot air balloon festival isn't enough to draw in visitors.
5号照理说要全卖，6号也要全卖。热气球嘉年华14年以来，包括疫情期间，从来没有一次的开幕这么的惨。
The Taidong Hot Air Balloon Festival starts Saturday and will run through mid-August, but bookings in the area are at less than half capacity. Tourism operators say the low visitor numbers are due to the massive earthquake back in early April, which damaged buildings and transportation links. 2 Formosan Sambar deer were reportedly killed by poachers during reconstruction work at Taroko National Park. The park has been closed to the public since a massive earthquake hit eastern Taiwan in early April. Efforts are underway to clear rubble and make the area more stable for visitors. But park officials say some workers took advantage of the lack of people and secretly hunted the deer. Formosan Sambar deer are a protected species in Taiwan. To avoid further harm, the park has asked police to investigate the incident and strengthen entry and exit controls. An old fishing tradition in danger of dying out has made an unexpected comeback thanks to its popularity with tourists. Zhang Van Trist takes a look.
Just after dusk, a lone fishing boat leaves a harbor on Taiwan's north coast. Decades ago, hundreds like it plied this coast off the Jinshan region in search of sardines. But these days, the last surviving boat of its kind is filled with tourists instead. And they've come to witness a fishing technique unlike any other. The fishing crew lights a massive flame above the prow, sending a huge school of sardines leaping in a sparkly display. Dazzled by the light, they're easily caught up in nets. Once a staple in these parts, sardines are now mostly fed to bigger fish on farms, and their value has dropped to the point where this fire fishing tradition nearly died. But since 2012, fishing folk here have been turning their old technique into a tourist spectacle. Jian Shikai, now in his early 30s, comes from a family with ties to fishing. He's now one of the younger people in this fishing tourism trade. He joined up after his military service, at a time when money was tight.
我刚回来的时候，环境就整个改变了。那时候剩6万，甚至到隔年只剩下3000块而已，3个月时间，一直坚持到后面，刚好之前的业者，就是旅游的业者，他就问我说，要不要去配合专心观光？好，不止黄港，真的社区一起来推动的话，或许我们这一代会是蛮有发展潜力的。
Today, the final fire fishing boat has a guaranteed future, ensuring a piece of local Taiwanese tradition does too. Justin Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, check out these scenes from Samson, a censored 17th century opera being performed at the Aix-en-Provence Festival in southern France. I'm Ethan Liu. Take care, and I'll see you next time.